Shalom, shalom. It's Brother Donald coming back with another Wisdom Wednesday, right? First and foremost, we want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We do so by way of his son, who is an instrument of salvation for the nation of Israel, who we mostly see over here on the Americas as the so called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? And without further ado, man, we're going to jump right into this lesson. It's going to be a short one, but a good one, right? One second. Con man. So the today's lesson is going to be titled Weightier Matters, right? So over the weekend, man, I and I know my brother did, but we watched a couple videos, listened to a couple sermons, excuse me, a couple sermons about what the weightier matters, man. And although they didn't really bring this precept out, I'm about to bring it out now. But they did touch on some of the things that are mentioned in this precept, referring to the weightier matters of the law, right? One we're going to highlight today, which is called, mercy, right? Mercy, forgiveness. Um, as Israelites, especially coming back into our heritage, as the scriptures refer to us as, and encourage us to take heed to ourselves, O nation not desired. It takes a lot of work, right? Coming back to our heritage, coming back to one another in love and in truth, right? And a lot that is required of us in doing that is mercy, right? And forgiveness, and understanding that right now, man, as much as a lot of us like to be legalistic when it comes to the law, understanding that, man, we're not in a position really, to be, well, we're in a position to be judged by the law. Don't get me wrong, but we're in a position where mercy is definitely an option when we're sitting back and we're thinking about judging actions or correcting people, right? Giving the proper correction. And a lot of times we overlook the fact that we have mercy and forgiveness as an option. All throughout the scriptures, even when they were the most legalistic, when we had our priesthood and everything, they showed you see mercy throughout the scriptures all the time, man. You see forgiveness for the sake of learning the lesson, man. And that's the end goal, right? That's what's most important, is learning the lesson, right? Somebody asked a question. They said, man, since when was being humbled and learning the lesson of a situation not enough? And quite simply, man, that is enough, right? When somebody has been brought low to a lower state, when they've felt that godly sorrow that the scriptures talk about, when they have repented, with have a repentive heart, and they've learned their lesson, man, that's all the Most High could ever ask for, right? And as a father to us, just like we're father to our children, man, that's all we're looking for when they do wrong as well, right? Is that they learn their lesson, that they don't do the same things no more, that they have a different outlook on life, that they have a different change in their thought process, right? And so going through that, man, we had some conversations. I wanted to get on here and jump on about this because we ran into the same scenario, same hypothetical twice, right? Not only in the car, but we also ran into it as we were listening to a sermon, right? If you guys don't know, we were invited, and we actually went to a GOCC sermon or service over the weekend. Very nice service. And he mentioned it in the service as well, and I thought it was kind of intriguing. So I'm gonna share it with you guys, man. The scenario goes like this, right? Now it's tailored towards men, right? But you can also look at it on the flip side as women. It goes like this, right? So you have a man, right? Say he's a single bachelor, and his ideal woman, um she's probably the perfect girl for him, right? She's perfect mentally, physically, and emotionally, right? And he gets this vision or this prophecy that he's gonna be able to marry her, but within the first 2 years, she's going to step out on him and commit adultery. The question is, and everybody, you can answer this question in your head, right? Um, do you stay with her for the sake of a successful marriage and to be with the perfect wife, right, or husband, or do you divorce her and you move on? Now, the flip side of it would be if you do divorce her, of course, since she was the perfect person for you, anybody else would be considered settling, but they obviously wouldn't have stepped out on you. So, what do you choose, right? And you can answer that to yourself. There's no right or wrong answer whether you want to stay or whether you want to leave, right? We're gonna get into why you might take that option of staying, right? Versus the legality of the situation and just leaving, which is nothing's wrong with that as well. You're well within your rights to do that as well, right? But looking into the situation, man, the weightier matters of the law in this scenario, man, you want to be able to have all the options on the table for you, right? There's several things we can jump into, right, with this topic. One thing I wanna revisit, man, before we jump into this, man, and why another reason why we do need the options of mercy and forgiveness on the table every time we, go through and divide the truth of the matters, right? Is because, man, a lot of situations, a lot of people make the wrong decisions based off of wrong counsel, right? No counsel, things of that nature. You gotta understand, man, a lot of decisions made back in the day, in the ancient times. Were made with proper counsel, right? They had people set up in place that knew the law, knew what you could do in the law emphatically and what you couldn't. They had the people set up that had righteous judgment and righteous advice and counsel, like the priesthood. And right now, man, we don't have a priesthood, nothing to say. We do have some wise people in this world, but nonetheless, man, there's not a tailored group of individuals we can refer to for our matters. We kind of just got to go off the off of a whim of who we think is eligible to guide us in the right direction, and a lot of times it's not the right thing, man. We go to people that aren't adequate or experienced enough to give us advice, but we hold them to a special regard, so we go to them anyway, and we end up making bad decisions, right? So again, though, this if you're tapped into the spirit, man, the spirit won't lead you wrong, but sometimes we can go to the people, man, and they'll steer us wrong, right? And so I say that to say, man, yes, you'll still be held accountable for your actions, man, at the end of the day. But two, man, there is some type of mercy to be issued out or to even be thought about nowadays, just because we're getting back to our heritage and we don't know exactly what we should be doing for real, right? So I'll say that. But with the scenario at hand, do you leave her? Do you stay with her? What do you do? I want to I want to be fair, right? So in the law, it definitely says you can leave her if she steps out on you, right? She commits adultery, you can leave her, right? But I wanna bring up something too, man. Uh, in Deuteronomy chapter 28, right? I'm not going to pull it up, but I'm gonna kind of paraphrase it. It tells us a lot of things. It shows us a lot of curses that we're going to be going through. One of the curses that will be cursing the city, cursing the field, right? Whether that be with poverty, there's a curse that says, "Curse shall be the basket in thy store," and curse shall thou be. You should plant gardens and not reap the fruit thereof, things of that nature. There's another curse that says this, right? You shall you shall betroth a woman, another man shall lie with her, right? And a lot of times we think back in that happened in slavery, and it's not going to happen now. The question I beg to you is the fact that, man, we know that these curses are in place, and we're subject to these curses as a nation, right? Even if we got it right, got us, individually, we have ourselves right. and that we can bypass some of these curses. A lot of times the people that we're related to or associated will drag us into their mess, which would allow us to be susceptible to these curses as well, if that makes sense, right? And so we see that we fight against these curses, and sometimes we're successful, right? Not all of us are living in poverty, right? Not all of us have failed business adventures. Some of us are very successful in our business adventures here in this land, right? So that's two curses right there. Curse shall there be in the city. That some people aren't cursed in the city. Some people don't have the curse of the fruit of the basket in thy store. Some people don't have a curse of planting a garden and not reaping the fruits of thereof, right? These are curses that we fight against, and we try to prevail against, right? Especially through the power and spirit of the Most High God, keeping His laws, statutes, and commandments, so we can bypass those curses. But there's a curse that we're talking about now, right? It says you should betroth a woman, and another man shall lie with her. How do we fight against that curse, right? And that's why I bring this up as an option, man. We know these curses are going to be on our nation. What do we do about them, right? Now, again, there's no right or wrong answer. You can leave if you want to. You'll be well within your rights. And for the legal people out there, just because somebody does take them back doesn't mean they're going to escape that final judgment from the Most High if they do have to take upon that judgment or punishment that comes with adultery, right? But for the sake of going against these curses, breaking family curses, generational curses of broken homes, right? You might see how one will want to fight for their relationship, especially if they have kids, things of that nature, right? It's just a question, man, just a scenario, hypothetical for you guys to think about. It's going to tailor this video a little bit, right? I'm going to bring this first precept on here. It's going to be coming from Matthew 23 and 23, right? It's going to be like a staple precept for today. Hold up, give me 1 second. Let me get this back on the screen. And it says, "Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites, for ye pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. These ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone." Right? And right now we're gonna highlight mercy, right? I don't know. That's what we're gonna be focused on this video when it comes to the weightier matters, right? First case of mercy that I see that Yeshua or Christ, right? I see that he's using um, just to bring up some of his acts, right? Was the adulterous woman, man, right? They came up to him and say, "Hey, man, I think she's an adulterer. I think we should stone her. What say you, Christ?" And he tells them, he said, "Ye without sin cast the first stone," right? And nobody cast the stone, of course, because everybody had sin within them that they seen. And he let her go. He said, "Sin no more," right? A case of mercy. And that's another case of mercy that we see today, that we can see today, man. Not everything is set in stone. Not all of us are can go about the things. We can't physically stone people no more, man, because that's a whole process in itself, right? And so a lot of these things it requires extra protocols, right? We're kind of forced to carry out these mercies, right? Kind of like Christ was, right? Because at the time, man, they wanted to stone her without having her a proper trial, without her countermate that helped her commit adultery, right? It was a one-sided story. They weren't the priests they weren't Levitical priests, things of that nature, so they couldn't even stone her to begin with. And so we see instances like that within our lives today, right? Especially not being tied to our heritage. Give me 1 second. Let's see here. I'm gonna go through a few, just a couple scenarios here, man, and it's gonna be tailored to the topic and the scenario the hypothetical scenario that I just proposed. Let's go to the book of Hosea. If any of you guys know about Hosea, man, you guys know he was kind of set with something similar, right? Let's go to the book of Hosea, chapter 1 and verse number 2. The beginning of the word of the Lord by Hosea. And the Lord said to Hosea, go take unto thee a wife of whoredoms and the children of whoredoms, for the land has committed great whoredom, departing from the Lord. So he went into Gomer, the daughter of Diblaim, which conceived and bare him a son. And the Lord said unto him, call his name Jezreel, for yet a little while, and I will avenge the blood of Jezreel upon the house of Jehu, and will cause to seize the kingdom of the house of Israel, right? And it shall come to pass at that day that I will break the bow of Israel in the valley of Jezreel, right? So what's happening here? The Most High commanded Hosea, the mighty prophet, to go marry a whore, right? Which we see in the law is not expedient to do, right? But he commanded Hosea to do this act. Why? Um, One, man, is showing mercy to Gomer, right? She probably, was in a state where she thought she was gonna have to be a whore for the rest of her life, right? Um, the and he gets with her, right? Not only that, he conceives a child by her, right? And now that he has a child by her and he's married to her, he's forced to take care of her, to nurture her, to to perform his his marital obligations, right? To take care and provide for her, even though she's a whore, right? And it's double to that, which is because why? We as Israel, as the nation, as a chosen people, man, we're also seen as the bridegroom to Christ. But there's also been a sometimes a comparison where we step out on the Most High, how we're called His beloved and things of that nature, man, and we step out on Him. But when we step out on Him, although we're committed spiritual whoredoms, He still nurtures us. He still provides for us. He still protects us, right? He still guides us, right? No matter, even when He knows we're stepping out on Him, right? And that's to be taken into account too. So it's saying like, if the Most High can take us back after all of our whoredoms, right? What say you, like what makes you that much uppity or that much righteous to the point where you can't take back somebody in the flesh and blood, right? When spiritually, man, that's even worse when you're stepping out on Him, right? And so that's something to take into account, right? Hosea married a whore, and was of course accounted for when it came to providing for her and his child by her, right? Same way like the Most High took us back, and not even before He even took us back, right? He provided for us. He protected us even when we was in our lands of captivities and things like that. He preserved our name, things of that nature, right? So what makes you that much more special than the Most High, to where you look upon yourself like, nah, I'm right, too righteous to be defiled with somebody like that, knowing that before you came into this truth, right, you were in all manner of wickedness, right, that you were defiled yourself, right? So that's just something to take into account as well. Shalom to the brother Azrael.
Shalom.
Next we're gonna go to Samuel. Let's go to Second Samuel. Where is it at? Oh, it's in the Old Testament, Ashton. You know this. Second Samuel chapter 12 and 19. Right? 12 and 19. Just real quick. This is about the story of King David and Bathsheba, who he forced to commit adultery with him, right? Whether it was consensual or not, it was adultery nonetheless. And we know that the price of adultery is death by stones, right? But did David die? No. We're going to read something that happened to David because of this, but we're going to see if he died or not, right? But when David saw that his servant, this is after he committed adultery, right? And But when David saw that his servants whispered, David perceived that the child was dead. So in the midst of his adultery, right, they conceived a child, right? She became pregnant. Um, and so they're waiting for this child to be born, right? And this is what David is seeing, right? Um, and so Therefore, David said unto his servant, is the child dead? And they said, he is dead. So the Most High took his son, right? Verse number 20. Then David arose from the earth and washed and anointed himself and changed his apparel and came into the house of the Lord and worshiped. Then he came to his own house when he required. They set bread before him and he did eat, right? I bring this up to say, man, when you keep reading this story, you're going to quickly find out that David did not die, right? Although he was supposed to legal wise, right? He did not die though. And so my point here is the fact that, you know, there was mercy shown to David and Bathsheba, right? Why do I say that? Because even after this situation, right? Even after this situation, we see that you know, David then goes and marries Bathsheba, and then if you and then he marries Bathsheba. Not only that, he gives birth to Solomon, right? And then through Solomon, we get our lineage of Christ and things of that nature, right? So there's good things that came out of this situation, but we see that the Most High showed mercy to David because he did not kill him, right? Matter of fact, he let him marry Bathsheba, and they are part of this chosen, this royal lineage that we speak of today, right? And so when you look at that, it's like, man, out of this royal lineage, within it is adultery itself, right? Which I don't think a lot of people, really pay too much attention on, right? And so one might say, hey man, that's Hosea, that's that's David. That has nothing to do with us. Um, you know what I'm saying? And people that are kind of legalistic will be like, there's no way around these judgments and the corrections. You got to go through it. You made your bed, you got to lay in it, right? But again, man, we got to understand the things that are written aforetime were what? Written for our learning. So when we read stories like Hosea, when we read a story about Christ and the adulterous woman, how he showed her mercy and said, go and sin no more. When we read stories about David and how he committed adultery with Bathsheba and got to marry her again, these stories are written for our learning, right? Not only for our physical learning, right, of what we can do on this earth, but spiritually as well, right? Where are we at spiritually? And again, man, going back to these weightier matters of the law, mercy is one of them, right? And for the people that say, the things that David experienced, the things that Christ experienced, the things that Hosea experienced, right? We won't be able to fathom or grasp. I got something for you, right? Isaiah. Let's go to the book of Isaiah, and we're gonna go to my phone.
Hey, too, with that last story, King David, he had the sure mercies of God, but also, the Most High came.
1 second. 1 second. We're gonna go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 55, and verse number 3, right? Salakia, right? I want to bring this out right before you say that, because I don't want to skip over this, right? For the legalistic people that say we can't be like David or we can't receive the things of Hosea and what Christ experienced and things like that, this is for you. This is Isaiah 55 and 3. Incline your ear and come unto me. Hear, and your soul shall live, and I will make an everlasting covenant with you. Talking about the house of Israel, right? Right. Um, the Israelites, right? Even the sure mercies of David. So the mercies shown unto David are reserved for you if you incline your ear, right, to being obedient, to having a heart towards the Most High. And that doesn't always mean that you're always going to be perfect within this walk or this law, right? But with a repentant heart and godly sorrow that we spoke about earlier, you can receive these mercies of David just like David did, right? David had a heart after the Most High, and that's how he received those mercies. But those mercies are reserved for you as well, and so you can receive these same mercies, even as bad as adultery, right? And we see that throughout the scriptures, right? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, David was cursed from his from the sins that he did and his children, right? And he also reaped those same curses that we're susceptible to. In Deuteronomy 28, he had another man sleep with his women's. right? When
Con,
his son took his women, right?
con,
So, the Most High blessed Solomon, right? But a lot of his other kids, man, they went off. There
con,
was
Absalom.
incest, all different
It's
type of
Absalom.
things.
Yeah, I know Solomon came through with Bathsheba. I'm not sure if Absalom did too, but I'm willing to bet he did. And I think that was another form of judgment for David as well, man. So even with the mercies, man, you understand that even with the mercies, judgment still comes with that too. You'll forever be learning your lessons, man. We see that I think it mentions in Leviticus and Sirach that the children begotten of adultery are living testaments of the wickedness or the wicked act that you've committed, right? Like the brother's going in. You had more on that?
No, that was it.
Pecan, man. And so we see that, man. So even when we invoke the option of having mercy on one another, when we come to these scenarios and these hypotheticals and these situations in life, right? It's not to say that these people that we show mercy to um won't get their final judgment or their final, their correct judgment, right? Ultimately the most high is going to be able to judge them, but nothing is saying that you can't fight against these curses, right, to bring back our families, right, so we can stop having broken homes, that we can become a nation together, because at the end of the day, man, that's what it's all about, is coming back together. Not only that, man, we see that we got to understand that we can't be nearsighted, we got to be farsighted, knowing that we can be susceptible to the actions that other people do as well, right? Just because it seems like we have it all together now and that we have our house in order now, coming down the line, man, if you run into the same situation, I guarantee you will be flipping through these pages, finding any scripture that's going to sign off on you to have some type of mercy, right? And you got to keep that in mind, that the same mercies that you show to somebody else right now will not be taken in granted, because you might need that mercy later on, right? And you don't want to ever forget that, man. Just like we say in the Lord's Prayer, forgive us, Lord, as we forgive our debtors, right? Not only are they debtors unto us, but they might just be debtors unto themselves, right? And so we can invoke that mercy, because you never know when you're going to need it, my friend. You know what I'm saying? We cannot be nearsighted, we gotta be farsighted, right? I actually have to go. Did you want to stay on here longer, Azrael, or are you just popping in for
Um,
for encouragement?
I can end out with the closing scripture while you leave.
Con, man, I'm gonna salute out, man. But it was a short video, nonetheless, man. The weightier matters of the law. I just want you guys to think of that, brother Danah, giving all honor and glory to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We do so by way of His Son, who the world intimately knows as Jesus Christ. Right. I got a jet. The brother Azrael will close us out, man. I'm gonna take this off the screen. You can do what you do, and shalom.
Yeah, I'm gonna end out on this scripture real quick. Um, no, that's not it. Right. So First Corinthians 10 and 13 says, there hath no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. So we can compare ourselves to brothers like David, to brothers like Joseph, to brothers like Moses. We can compare ourselves to them because they're written of for a reason, so we can learn from them, right? And they went through the same temptations because it's what common to man, right? It says, but God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able. So just know that if you have a child that dies, if you have a parent that dies, if you lose your job, if you get your girl slept, if your girl sleeps with another man and leaves you, or if your girl, right, like the brother was saying, once again sleeps with another man, or The worst case scenario happens if a man lied to you and said, hey, he didn't believe in polygyny, but you find yourself in a polygynous state. You know, if you have um, somebody that's close to you fall out the truth, man, guess what? It's of God, right? God is the one that's tempting or allowing the temptation to happen in your life. Ultimately, it's up to you to carry out what's best in that situation for your salvation, right? We got to work out our own salvation through fear and trembling. This is only a test, right? Visited a church last weekend, and something that the bishop said at that church was, uh, life starts after you die, meaning this is all a test. Anything you go through in this life, no matter how much passion or empathy or sympathy you have for the people and the things that surround you, right? God can pull on those strings and chastise you to where you're in tears and you have to deal with it. But like Sirach 2 says, you have to deal with it what? Cheerfully, right? Because you're blessed because of his chastisement, right? It says, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, right? He knows what you can take. It says, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, right? So this thing is not promised, right? That you're gonna live life without temptation, right? You're gonna live life without heartache, right? A lot of brews believe just because we keep the law, statutes, and commandments, we're not susceptible to the curses, right? We're susceptible to some blessings now, but them curses are still on us as a nation. That's why we can read about um, who we can read about Joseph and his brothers putting him in prison for no reason, right? We can read about brothers being taken from their families. We can read about prophets like Ezekiel, Isaiah being in prison for preaching the truth and to their people and being put in captivity to Babylon and to Assyria and to Egypt and to Rome. We could see all these things happening no matter if that person is holy or not, right? We see what happened to Judas Maccabeus, Jonathan Maccabeus, Simon Maccabeus. We see what happened to Ezra's. We see what happened to all these brothers, right? Even though they kept the commandments, we see what happened to all the 12 disciples, right? They can't escape the temptation of this earth and sometimes fear, right? And things that they have to deal with. But guess what? They kept the commandments. They were followers of Christ and followers of the Most High. So, with that being said, don't count the Most High out just because you're going through the curses and you're keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. It's going to happen. But with the temptation, the Most High will also make a way to escape that, right? He'll also make you at peace with your enemies. He'll also make you at peace um, with the guards in the jail, like Joseph. He'll give you favor in the spirit of excellence, like Daniel, right? He'll do these things in your land of captivity, like the three Hebrew boys, and put you up on high, even in your captivity, right? You may still have to pay taxes. You may still have to answer to somebody of a different nation, but he'll make a way of escape, right? That ye may be able to bear it. So just wanted to say that, right? And what keeps us is these law, statutes, and commandments. It sounds redundant, it sounds cliche, but that's what sets us apart, right? And who are we not to do those things that were given to us? Man, in my job role, I'm in service, and I deal with a lot of managers, right? It was a so-called white manager, right? And he was letting me know that he had to fly to France last night. And he was flying to France because he said we no longer celebrate Christmas or birthdays. Now, these other nations are getting right? Yes, but it's only our hard-headed, stiff-necked people that want to cling on to traditions of men because of memories that we used to have. And we want to make those new memories with as we get older, right? But it's not doing the same thing for us. You know why? Because we're fighting against something that's not supposed to be. That's something that's false. And right. And because of that, it's leaving us susceptible to these curses. Right. So just keep that in mind, man. These other nations are trying to get right. Why are we not trying to get right as a nation? And the world will never be right. We will never be saved until we, get more of that election or that remnant or that 1/3. right? So I'll end it there. Brother Azrael, the hopeful elect, Shalom.